The family represents the basic unit of study in many medical and social science disciplines. It is the nature of a family that its members are intensely connected emotionally. In a functional family, parents strive to create an environment in which everyone feels safe and heard and loved and respected. There is no perfect family, and there will always be arguments and challenges, but effective communication can flip any dynamic and deliver resolutions. It's no surprise that having close family relationships can afford a person higher life satisfaction as well as lower rates of depression and disease. But many people feel that they simultaneously love and hate their families, and in many families, getting along isn't a given. The interaction between various members is at the core of this complicated dynamics. Family culture, the number of children, the number of extended family members, and other elements all play a part in the overall system. Family dynamics are the patterns of relating or interactions between family members. Each family system and its dynamics are unique, although there are some common patterns. We will see that all families have some helpful and some unhelpful dynamics. During this lecture, we'll cover the following objectives. Define and describe the concept, recognize risk factors for negative family dynamics, and provide intervention to promote positive family dynamics. The family has been viewed traditionally as the primary unit of socialization, the basic structural unit within a community. The family is a basic unit of study, as I said, in many medical and social science disciplines. Definitions of family have varied throughout the years and come in many forms. Uh, Currently, besides the traditional, previously understood type of mother, father, and children variety, family dynamics is the interrelationship between and among individual family members or the forces at work within a family that will produce particular behaviors or symptoms. The dynamic is created by the ways in which a family lives and interacts with one another. The dynamic, whether positive or negative, supportive or destructive, nurturing or damaging, changes who people are and influences how they view and interact with the world outside the family. Relationship within a family may be healthy, loving, and respectful, with members supporting each other and providing nurturance in the system, forming a unit within society. They support each other within the family and within the larger community. Family interactions can also be dysfunctional because of physical, mental, or situational problems of one or more family members. A husband may berate his wife for perceived shortcomings or denigrate the child for having difficulty with school. Siblings may squabble and place blame for incidents. In some instances, a parent and sibling may abuse one child. Observing dysfunctional interactions by parents can lead children to imitate those negative behaviors. Remember, there is no perfect family, but all families lie on the continuum of function to dysfunctional. This cannot be determined by just looking at family photos. If we are to study family dynamics, it is important to determine the members of the family. Family may seem like a simple concept, but there is no simple definition of a family. The family structure has changed dramatically over the last 50 years. The Leave It to Beaver family is no longer the standard, and several variations on family have been created. A family is who they say they are. The nuclear family is what we've seen as the traditional type of family structure. This family type consists of two parents and children. The nuclear family was long held in esteem by society as being the ideal in which to raise children. However, this is no longer the case. The single-parent family consists of one parent raising one or more children on his or her own. The extended family structure will consist of two or more adults who are related, either by blood or marriage, living in the same home. This family will include many relatives that live and work together towards common goals, such as raising the children and keeping up with the household duties. Many extended families will include cousins and aunts or uncles and grandparents all living together. Over half of all marriages, unfortunately, will end in a divorce, and many of these individuals may choose to get remarried.
This creates a new type of family, and this is called a blended family. This will involve two separate families merging into one unit. It will consist of a new husband, wife, or spouse, and their children from previous marriages or relationship. With each additional family member, the interactions get more complex. Within the family, individuals assume or are assigned roles: spouse, parent, child, sibling, grandchild, and they can have different ways of um, fulfilling those roles. They can be the disciplinarian, the leader, the scapegoat, the nurturer, the enabler, or the hero. Healthy families are able to adjust and adapt. Roles may change over time. For example, as children grow and develop, crises are encountered, illnesses may develop, or family members may leave home. It may be difficult for family members, especially children, to understand roles and changes in roles and the way that those changes may affect the balance of relationship within the family and all the effects of one family member's actions on the remainder of the family. Communication and interactions are dynamic and changing and can be positive or negative. The positive interactions and communications are growth producing and produce cohesion, while the negative interactions and communications are divisive and disruptive and may lead to dysfunction and alienation. In order to be able to define the attributes of a family dynamics, we need to define a few terms, and those will be family, and this will be however that is defined in the own terms of the family. Communication that is verbal or nonverbal among family member, and the communication must occur, and the interactions among family members that can be fluid, flexible, and changeable. They are dynamic most of the time. Family dynamics are influenced by a number of factors, including relationships, personalities, extended family influence, illness, life events, issues such as domestic violence or substance abuse, mental illness, or any other disabilities. Also affecting family dynamics are the family values, such as their culture and ethnicity, beliefs about gender roles, parenting practices, power or status of family members, and broader systems such as social, economical, and political environments, which includes and have sometimes a big influence poverty or affluence. There are some theoretical links that describe different types of dynamics inside families. We have what is called the family system theory, and Wright and Lee describe the systems uh, theory as allowing nurses to perceive a family as a unit, and, and as a result of that, to be able to focus on observing the interaction among family members rather than studying each individual member of the family um, alone. The key characteristics of the family system theory are that one, a family system is part of a larger, a part of a suprasystem, and is composed of many small parts that are called subsystems. Um, the second characteristic is that the fact that the family as a whole is greater than the sum of its individual members. And number three will be that the change in one family member affects all family members. Number four is the fact that the family is able to create a balance between change and stability. And the last characteristic will be the fact that the family members' behaviors are best understood from a view of a circular rather than a linear causality. A different type of theoretical link is provided by the structural functional theory. The origin of the structural functional theory are in social anthropology, and in this theory, the family is a social system. Family members have very specific roles. They can be the father, the mother, daughter, or son. And maintaining equilibrium between those complementary roles is and should be accomplished through family dynamics. By doing that, The family is allowed to function within the family unit as well as inside the society. Some families outsiders some families establish rigid boundaries and outsiders are kept at a distance, while other families may be isolated and may find that in times of crisis their resources are inadequate. There are families that maintain open boundaries and give and accept assistance when needed. Some reciprocal relationship within the family can be detrimental, such as designating one member as the family scapegoat or viewing another family member as weak or dependent. In some cases, a family member may be identified as the strong or responsible one, and undue expectations may be placed upon that member only. Another theory is called the family stress theory. The ways in which families react to stress is the focus of it. Stress of families can be studied in the context in which the family is living. They can be internal or external. Events that the family can change or control as family structure, psychological defenses, and philosophical values and beliefs will comprise for the internal context. The time and place in which a family finds itself um, and over which the family has no control, as, for example, culture of the larger society, the time in the history, and economic state of a society, the maturity of the individuals involved, the success of the family in coping with those stressors, as well as, in some cases, genetic inheritance. They all comprise for the external context. The last theory that we discussed today is the family life cycle or developmental theory. And this is based on the fact that families will pass through stages. Relationship among family members move through transitions all the time. Although families have roles and functions, a family's main value is in the relationships that are irreplaceable. Developmental stresses can disrupt this life cycle process. Family dynamics, whether positive or negative, supportive or destructive, nurturing or damaging, may change who people are and may influence how they view and interact with the world outside the family. A number of culturally sensitive tools have been developed to assess or measure family dynamics. Before even starting to interact with a patient and families, a nurse must recognize and acknowledge the family dynamics and to understand that they can promote health and they also may she will need to be able to identify the families that are at risk for dysfunction. And I will give you a few examples. For example, expanding the family. And expanding the family can happen through childbirth, adoption, or whenever there is a blending family. Whenever this happens, all the dynamics among all family members will change. The birth of a baby, it's a very happy event. However, it will create stress within the family. And that can be due to the fact that the infant may be born prematurely, the infant may have some congenital defects, or even the death of an expected baby. In order to accommodate to the new situation, there will be home arrangement and finances and work obligations that may change. A baby may be easily assimilated. However, when there is an older child that is brought into the family, that brings additional challenges to becoming part of a family. Children at different ages, they are coming all with their own backgrounds, and they must learn to live together with the new family. In addition to that, let's say through the death or a divorce, the parent that disappear may be missed, and the step parents must acknowledge the new situation. Another situation that the nurse should identify as a stressful situation is related to a life-threatening illness, let's say as a cancer diagnosis. Um, let's take the example of a patient that must acknowledge that they just have been diagnosed with breast cancer. From the point of view of the woman that is receiving the diagnosis, she's actually right now facing her own mortality, and she needs to make extremely tough decisions in terms of treatment. She needs to share her concerns with the family, and there will be families that are able to provide understanding and support and comfort throughout the treatment. However, the entire family needs support during this time. In some cases, the family members may have a difficulty to envision life without the woman. That is seen by different family members as the wife, the mother, or the daughter. While the woman needs support, the family also needs support, and she might found herself trapped into the cycle of trying herself to comfort the family while she is the one that needs all the support and the comfort at this point. Another type of family at risk may be that in which there is a case of intimate partner violence. Most of the cases, those will be women. However, it can be men also. And usually a nurse will encounter them in emergency department. And the interaction with between the perpetrator and the victim may seem loving and concerned. In many cases, the nurse will be able to pick up on clues that allow the nurse to understand the actual dynamics of the couple. Another type of family violence, and we'll discuss that in a different chapter a little bit later, is the parents that may abuse one or more of the children. And another type of abuse inside the family is seen in the case of elderly abuse when adult children may abuse their parents. Another type of situation that puts the family at risk will be the substance abuse or addiction. And usually the people that are abusing substances live in dysfunctional families. And the nurses that are working in mental health or psychiatric settings encounter many times this type of codependent individuals and families. Many times the families are trying to rescue so-called the person abusing the substances instead of encouraging him or her to seek treatment. Another type of family at risk is the one that is exposed to the death and dying. And the nurse working hospitals, long-term care, or hospice settings can encounter dying individuals and their families. Grieving can take many forms, and the nurse should be able to identify the various manifestations of grief and be able to assist the family in the process. The nurse needs to be supportive and provide necessary information, able to request spiritual advisors as desired by the family, and also to provide answers if they're asked about postmortem examination, organ donation, and disposing of the body. There are a few tools that were developed in order to assist the nurse in the assessment of families. And the first one that we are going to discuss today is the Calgary Family Assessment Model. And it's used by family nurses in their practices most of the time. It was developed by two nurses, by Lorraine M. Wright and Maureen Lee, in their 2000 book, Nurses and Families, A Guide to Family Assessment and Intervention. The Calgary Family Assessment Model looks at three basic areas. They are looking at the structure of the family, including members of the immediate family, their gender, extended family relationships, and any outside factors that may influence them. It looks also at, has a part of a developmental assessment that will include looking at what stage the family is at, such as childbearing years or retirement years, and along with the tasks that are associated with it and how the bonds are developing based on the developmental stages and the family members. And the third part of it, it's a functional assessment. that will examine the family's ability to perform essential functions. When we're looking into a family structural assessment, we are using some tools that one of them is called a genogram and one is called an ecomap. And those are useful tools that will outline the family's internal and external structures. Um, these tools can be hand-drawn. There are some computers that are available to construct the genogram. So if you can look at this picture, it's created based on the Simpson family, and you can see how each of the family member is presented, and it shows how they do relate with each other, and what are the relationship among each other, and how they connect. When we discuss the developmental assessment of the family, um, we are looking and considering examples of predictable events as well as examples of unpredictable events. While families develop, there are stages where certain milestones will occur. For example, the first stage is when a couple gets together. Here, they establish a functional relationship with each other, and independence in most of the cases from their families of origin. Then they may decide to expand the family, and this will bring them into the uh, childbearing stages. Then they are back to being a couple in the middle years, and they will enter the retirement stage. Each of those elements can be seen as predictable events. However, inside those, they may happen, some unpredictable events may happen. Now we are moving into the functional assessment of the family, and the instrumental question here will be, what will be some specific activities? Um, what are some questions that nurses could ask families regarding their functionality in order to assess their functional behaviors? So the functional assessment addresses how individuals actually behave in relation to one another. The two basic assessment aspects of a family functioning are both instrumental and expressive. The instrumental aspects will include the routine activities of daily living, such as preparing meals and eating and sleeping and doing laundry, and sometimes, if needed, changing dressings. And the expressive aspects include communication, which can be emotional, verbal or nonverbal, circular, problem solving, roles assumed inside the family, influence and powers inside the families, beliefs, and alliances and coalitions also inside the families. The categories are not used to define a family's emotional health, so be aware. It is the family's judgment of whether they are functioning well that is the most important element. There will be a few questions such as following that can be asked. Whose role is it to see that granddad takes the medicine? Whose turn is it to bathe granddad? Why is Jimmy not helping to take care of granddad? How can we get Jimmy to help with the caretaking? If the family is having trouble coping with instrumental issues, often expressive issues exist. However, the family can cope with instrumental issues and still have expressive issues. Thus, essential of both is essential. And keep in mind, instrumental are those that we are doing every day, as opposed to expressive issues are those that we communicate in the way that we. Now, for this aspect of our lecture, I will encourage you to go back to the textbook and read the various examples that are identified in the textbook in terms of dysfunctional family dynamics or positive family dynamics in the expanding family, negative family dynamics in the expanding family dynamics following a diagnosis of breast cancer. And I would like you to write down nursing interventions that are illustrated by the examples. We'll discuss here some interrelated concepts. Um, and we'll have here the element of family cohesion. And this is the emotional bonding, can be defined as the emotional bonding that couple and family members have toward one another. There are 5 levels of cohesion, range from disengaged or disconnected to somewhat connected to connected to very connected, and the other extreme will be unmeshed or overly connected. The 3 levels of balanced cohesion are hypothesized to lead to optimal family function, whereas the extreme levels, that of disengaged and that of overly connected, are seen as problematic for relationships in time. Another element of interrelated concept is the family coping, and is defined as the family actions to manage stressors that tax family resources. And the indicators of family coping include confronting family problems involving family members in decision making and using family-centered stress reduction activity while seeking family assistance whenever appropriate. The last element of an interrelated concept is the family disorganization, and that is defined as the breakdown of a family system which may be associated with parental overburdening or loss of significant other who served as role model for children or support system for family members. Family disorganization can contribute to the loss of social controls that families usually impose on their members. Definitely, a family disorganization will contribute to negative family dynamics. This slide presents you with featured exemplars for this concept. Please take some time and identify which exemplars are associated with changes in family dynamics. Also, please analyze which exemplars are associated with negative or dysfunctional family dynamics. Question number 1. Negative interactions and communications are divisive and disruptive and lead to, and the options are 1. Dysfunction and alienation, 2. Growth and cohesion, 3. Communication and interaction, or 4. Rivalry and mistrust. The correct answer is 1. Communication and interactions are dynamic and changing and can be positive or negative. Positive interactions and communications are growth producing and create cohesion. Negative interactions and communications are divisive and disruptive and lead to dysfunction and alienation. Question number 2. What are the 2 basic aspects of family functioning? 1. Alliances and coalitions. 2. Instrumental and expressive. 3. Predictable and unpredictable events. Or 4. Physical and psychological. And the correct answer is number 2. The 2 basic aspects of family functioning are instrumental and expressive. Instrumental aspects will include routine activities of daily living such as preparing meals and eating, sleeping, and doing laundry, while expressive aspects will include communication, emotional, verbal, nonverbal, problem solving, roles, influence and power, beliefs, and alliances and coalitions. Question number 3. Family actions to manage stressors that tax family resources are called family, and the options are 1. Cohesion, 2. Functioning, 3. Disorganization, or 4. Coping. Correct answer is number 4. Family coping. Family will manage stressors that tax family resources, and indicators of family coping include confronting family problems, involving family members in decision making, using family-centered stress reduction activity and seeking family assistance when appropriate.